Hello everyone. So today we'll be talking about physics, and under physics we'll be talking about this topic called motion. Talking about motion, we just have a little theory class. Just explain this will be a summary class for motion. So first of all, what is motion? Motion is defined as the motion of an object can be defined as the visible movement. Please pay attention. The visible movement between 2 points, and which may be caused by an applied force. So it is the difference, or it is defined as the visible movement between 2 points, which may be caused by an applied force. Or you can say motion is the change of position of an object from one point to the other. They are all the same definition. So what is the cause of motion? The cause of motion is force. So what makes an object to move from point A to point B is what we call, imagine this is the object. What will make this object to move from this point A to this point B is what we call force. So you can be asked during your exams, what is the cause of motion? The cause of motion is what is called an applied force. And when motion takes place, then work is done. So types of motion, we have about 5 types of motion. The first type of motion is what we call the translational motion. The translational motion. And what is this translational? We call it translational or displacement motion. And this is the motion of a body in a straight line, or as a result of as a result of the force applied. Now, you can also call this a linear motion. This translational motion can be called a linear motion. This is the motion on a straight line. For example, an example I can give is a woman pushing her baby's pram. A woman pushing her baby pram. If you don't know what a pram is that moving objects they use to move baby. So if you see a woman moving a baby, you realize that, or you notice that she's moving on a straight line. Or you can say the movement of you going on a straight road. When you are going on a straight road, you realize that you are exhibiting what we call translational motion. The second type of motion we have is called oscillatory or vibratory motion. This is the motion of a body about a fixed point. It is a motion of a body about a fixed point, and it is the motion that repeats itself in equal intervals of time along the same path. It repeats itself. This is a to and fro motion. We call it the to and fro motion. For example, when you are swinging your hands, you realize that your hand is in a fixed position, but it is moving to and fro. Do you understand? So that type of motion is called oscillatory or vibratory motion, the to and fro movement. For example, we have the oscillation of a simple pendulum. I believe you did that practical in your secondary school, and you were taught that the to and fro movement, when you carry a simple pendulum, you tie it around a thread and you swing it, it will be going to and fro, and you even calculate the time. You understand? You calculate the time. So all those things were done in your A-level or your O-level section. So the next type of motion is called rotational motion. This is the motion of a body that moves in a cycle or an ellipse. It rotates about an axis. Example is the rotation of fan blade. The rotation of a fan blade. Your fan in your sitting room or your bedroom, you see that the fan blade are moving in a circular path or in a rotational path. That is what we call rotational motion. So another type of motion is called random motion. This is what we call the zigzag motion, a haphazard motion, a motion of a body that moves without a specified direction. For example, the movement of a bee. The movement of a bee is a type of motion that we call the random motion. And the movement of molecules, more especially in a gas, is called a random motion. Then the next thing we're going to look at is force. We're going to be looking at force. And what is force? Force is an act which changes the state of rest of a body or its motion in a straight line. Force is an act which changes the state of rest of a body or its motion in a straight line. So when you have a body standing or a body at rest, what will make that body move on a straight line is what we call what? Force. Then also, for example, you have your wheelbarrow at rest. What will make that wheelbarrow to move is when you apply a force to it. When you pick it up and you begin to push it on a straight line, that's what you are applying, or what is causing that wheelbarrow to move is what we call force. And we have three types of force rather. We have three types of force. The first type of force is what we call the contact force. The first type of force is called the contact force. The second type of force is what we call the force field. And we have the nuclear force. The contact force, the force field, and the nuclear force. So the contact force is a type of force which occurs when two surfaces are in contact. When you have two surfaces in contact, you are having a contact force. For example, we have the frictional force. I believe you know what friction is. When you have two bodies rubbing against themselves, you have a force that opposes relative motion when two bodies are in contact. When one body is not making the other body to move smoothly, that is what we call friction, and that type of force is called what? A contact force. Another type of contact force is what we call the reaction force. Now, reaction force is another type of force we have, and this is the type of force that is a type of force that it has different names rather, depending on the two contacts and force effect occur. So this type of reaction force, it depends on the type of contact the two bodies exhibit. Do you understand? And we have at least about three types of force under what we call the contact force. The first type is called tension. For example, when you an example of this type of force is when you have a body that is attached to the end of a suspended spring. Now, you realize that when you put a body, what this tension force is making us understand is that when you have a string, normally when you keep a string like this, it will look like this when nothing is applied. But the moment you applied a body on one end of this string, for example a bulb, when you attach a pendulum bulb on this string, you realize that the string will no longer be like this, it will look straight, because a force, imagine you hold the string like this and the bulb is downward, the string will not be straight. So at this point here is where our force will be attached. So this part here, you realize that instead of the string to be like this, it becomes straight and become very, very thick and strong. So that type of force is called the tension force. The second type of force is what we call the thrust. And what do we need to understand about thrust? Up thrust rather. We have what we call the up thrust, and this one is the one that occur when you put a body of mass inside a liquid. For example, you have a bowl of water now and you drop a ball inside of it, a metallic ball inside of it. You realize that the ball will go down, or maybe you have a bowl of water and you put a very, very big stone inside. you realize that the water will rise up. Is that not so? It will no longer be at the level at which it was. It will rise up. So that rising of that water is what we call upthrust, and it was as a result of what? Of a force that was applied to that water. So that type of force is what we call upthrust. And the last type of thrust is what we call, the last type of tension reaction force is what we call the thrust. We call it the thrust. And this type of force is the one that when you have a spring, you know, normally a spring is like this, and you applied a body of mass on this spring, you will notice something, that the spring will be opposing the force that is coming to it. You see that the spring will be bouncing up and down. So that type of force is what we call what? The thrust. Is what we call that type of contact force is called what? Is called thrust. Then we look at our force field. We have three types of force field. This is the region or space where force can be experienced. For example, I know you were taught the three types of force field we have. We have the magnetic force field, we have the electromagnetic or the electrostatic force field, and we have the gravitational force field, the region where these forces can be felt or can be experienced. Example, the electric force field or the magnetic. You must not put a magnet close to you must not bring it closer for it to magnet. You realize that even when the magnet and the iron are at a distance, there is a force that is attracting them. So that type of force field within this region, you are having what? A force that is attracting it. So that type of force field is called magnetic force rather. Then, and also like your electric current, and some of us have experienced this, that you must not touch a wire for it to touch you. Sometimes you will just go close to it and you feel a force draw you closer. That force, the reason why you experience that is because there was a field around where your hand was that drew you closer to that wire. So that type of force is called what? The force field. And they are of three types. I said the magnetic force field, the electrostatic force field, and the gravitational force field. And the last type of field we have is what we call the nuclear force. The type of force rather. The last type of force is what we call the nuclear force, and this is the force between the particles in the nucleus of an atom. That is the force that holds the nucleus, which consists of your proton and your neutron together. So the force that holds or that binds your proton to your nucleus, to your neutron, that forms the nucleus of an atom, is what we call what? The nuclear force. So thank you very much for watching. See you in the next class.